Barak Barfi joins us on Skype from Detroit, Michigan. He's a research fellow at the New America Foundation's International Security Program. Why don't I start with this declaration by the U.S. president, breaking with past tradition, making the statement. What were your thoughts when you heard the news?
Well, basically, President Trump is trying to make something out of nothing. He always wants to take control of the situation. He always wants to be at the forefront of something, and this is what we've seen today, last week, excuse me. He's now become a cause célèbre again. He's back in the news. His policies are at the forefront of the news, and this is what he wanted to do.
Well, we've seen Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan taking the lead on being the most vociferous in the region, denouncing this decision. He gathered a number of Muslim leaders together this week to declare East Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine. Now he wants to go to the UN to get this annulled. Do you think that's going to go anywhere? And where does he stand in terms of driving the conversation on this?
First off, there's nothing to annul. The Israelis didn't make this move. The Israelis didn't annex East Jerusalem. They didn't announce the building of a new settlement. They didn't make any unilateral step. This was a United States policy decision. Only the United States can annul that decision. That's number one. Secondly, who are the countries at the forefront of this anti-Trump decision? There are three countries: Turkey, Iran, and Pakistan. Not really the Arab countries, because they have their own problems. President Erdogan wants to be the leader of the Islamic world, and this gives him a bully pulpit or a podium to do so.
How damaged is the U.S. in terms of being an honest broker in the peace process, do you think?
I think that's not the right question. I think the right question is there a peace process, and is there any chance of resuscitating it? And both those questions, the answer to both those questions is no. There haven't been any meaningful negotiations since 2007, 2008, when Ehud Olmert was prime minister, and there haven't been any significant agreements made since before the second Intifada broke out in September of 2000. So I think that is the question, and that is the problem right now. United States policy of moving the embassy is not going to torpedo the peace process. It's not going to kill the peace process, because there is no peace process right now.
So Vice President Pence's trip, what's the likelihood that that can move the needle in any direction?
I don't think it'll move it. I don't think that it'll make any progress on the peace process. I think the visit is for other reasons. We used to see the Secretary of State come to the region, Warren Christopher specifically, to a lesser extent Madeleine Albright and Colin Powell, to the region to push the peace process forward. Pence is coming for other reasons, and I think primarily his discussions with the Arab leaders is going to be about Iran and, to a lesser extent, what is going to happen in Syria.
Barak, you know this area really well. I mean, you travel there. There's so much in terms of problems. You look at Syria, you look at what's going on in Yemen. What does this do in terms of stirring the pot, creating even more problems in the region?
Excellent question. The Arab leadership really does not want, the Arab leaders really don't want this to be on page one. The Saudis, their chief problem or dilemma is Iranian encroachment in the region. Egypt wants to fall in line with the Saudis. Egypt's got its own ISIS problems. Syria, they would love to take this, be on the lead in this, and stick a fork and poke the eyes of the Arab leadership and the Americans, but they can't do that because they don't control half their country. So those are the problems right now. The Arab street has so many issues that concern it. I mean, the people in Yemen are not going to be protesting about the decision to move an embassy, because they are bombarded from one side by the Saudi coalition and the other side by the Iranians. In Libya, there's no state. There's warring factions. So the Arab street, which we've always heard about as being this great behemoth, which is in actuality been a paper tiger, can't really move to the forefront. And lastly, the Arab leadership in the Palestinian area, specifically Fatah, Mahmoud Abbas, and the Palestinian Authority, they don't want to have any problems with their people. They don't want more demonstrations and more protests and more killings, because what's going to happen at the end of the day, that anger is going to be channeled at them, at the leadership. And we saw this in Gaza, where they attacked the homes of the Fatah and PA leadership.
Barak, thanks so much for your perspective.